and welcome to another episode of Talk the Talk with Manahyl. My guest today is very, very special for many reasons. She's got a heart of gold, her energy is magnetic. She is an official interior decorator for over 20 years and has now become a life coach. And we have so much to ask her about that. Please welcome Uzma Sultan. Hi, Usma.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me and my team. And literally on one phone call, you let me into your house, and I'm really honored.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. I am honored.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we know that you have this flair for interiors. This has been your profession.
Mm-hmm.
You have worked with Sana Safinaz
Yes.
for over 20 years, and you have changed a little bit into where your path of life was taking you.
Yes.
I know that you now have another facet of your life, and we will talk about that. And I believe this is after the passing of your son,
That's right.
Changiz, that you found this whole other new avenue in your life. Before we get on to that, tell me a little bit about your childhood and your life, what you were like, what your work was like up until that point where,
So, I've had a very privileged childhood. Traveled a lot, had lots of friends, went to a boarding school,
Really?
lived with friends. Hated it while I was there, but when I look back, it was an experience of a lifetime.
Where were you for boarding?
At the Murray Convent
how
of
lovely.
Jesus and Mary. I think the nuns hated me, but and I loved making them miserable.
Yeah.
So it taught me to become a fighter and a go-getter. And so I have this little boisterous streak that I always had because of my experiences. Got married at 18, didn't want to study. And in those days, if you didn't want to study, then you got married, which was a
Right.
simplest solution. So that's what happened. Happily jumped into a marriage.
Married.
At the age of 21, I had a son, and for 7 years, then I didn't have another child because I didn't know how to raise the child. It was hit and trial, like with most parents. Then I had another child, and then I was working. I started work with Sana Safinaz because they're all my childhood friends.
Right.
And Sana asked me to come in, and because they were starting a furniture line. So I joined them and we started this furniture line, and I haven't looked back since. I was always, never took life very seriously. Just enjoyed life, had fun. I didn't really think very hard. I just I think I went through life like we all do. And suddenly my world changed. My 24-year-old son, from nowhere, his kidneys failed. And within 3 weeks of his kidney failure, he died in my arms. And my life changed. And I broke in so many pieces, and I just didn't know what to do with myself, and I didn't know how to live life, and how can I manage my home and my other child. And so this journey began, a new journey, a new me came out of this entire experience.
When I was talking to you about that, you said that you came onto this journey of wanting to heal, not only for yourself, but then to eventually be able to heal others. But initially you said that you were not able to find that kind of help or the words that you wanted to hear at the time when you were going through this loss.
Yes.
And you didn't know where to go.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
So when you lose a child, or when you lose anybody that you love very dearly, it can be a spouse, it can be a parent. A child is something that I don't think ever expect. You always believe that you're going to die before your children, and actually, it's not in the rule book, you see. And we don't believe that it can happen to us. Yeah. And when it did happen to me, I was so lost and so broken. I didn't know how to manage, and I didn't know where to get help. So I went for therapy, but there was no grief therapy. So I was really blessed. I am really blessed with lots of friends that love me and actually I realized the love that I have received after my child. Actually, I became aware of this love that I am surrounded by. I wasn't aware of it. I think maybe I took it for granted. I have friends who've put their lives on hold for me and have just, focused on what I'm doing and where I am. And actually people have held my hand and made me go through this journey. And when I couldn't find a grief therapist at the time, I enrolled into this institute called CPPD
Right.
to become a therapist myself eventually. And I haven't done the last level because I was simultaneously, because I was the mother of a child who now lives in the spirit world. I'm still his mother. And I wasn't going to let him go. So, whatever that meant at the time, I
Yeah.
couldn't bring him back, but I wasn't going to let him go. And so I started doing all these researches and looking for him, and I didn't know how to. And I started researching on the Quran and what it says about death and life. And then I looked up different sites where I can communicate with the spirit world. It was a little scary, so I'd come back. Then I found a psychic medium in New Jersey by default.
Yeah.
And she really helped me because she found Chingiz for me. And
I
she's
want
never
to,
met me.
I want to know about that also
Yes.
because I think
So she
you
doesn't
went
know
into
me.
that.
She hasn't met me. And
How did you find this? Tell me about the story. How did you find her?
so I used to have this feeling that Chingiz is not happy where he is. And everybody tells you he's in heaven and he's with God. And you know, all these stories that we ourselves tell other people when they've lost somebody. And it just didn't sit with me. And I had this constant anxiety and this constant pain. And I wanted to actually run out of myself. I wanted to unzip my body and run out of myself, whatever that meant. And then this voice, I remember this voice talking to me. And this voice started talking to me from the minute, in fact, before Chingiz passed away, and was telling me that he's going to die. That's where my journey started. So that voice, and I'd forgotten about that voice. And it was later I realized it was a man's voice that was talking to me. So who was this
What was
voice?
that voice?
Exactly, I
say?
didn't know. But there was a man's voice that used to tell me he's going to die. And then there was this man's voice every time I had this anxiety used to say, but you believe, but you believe. And so later on, fast forwarding all the researches and learning, they were these probably my angels or my spirit guides that were around me. And I actually used to hear them. And I thought I'm going crazy because I'm hearing these men talking to me, you know. So that's where my journey started. And then I found a psychic medium. And then it was like, oh my God, you mean she has no idea who I am? She knows nothing about Chingiz, but she's defined him and his personality and what he's saying to me and given past stories to the T.
And she had all that
And
knowledge.
she had all that information
How did
too.
you encounter her?
So, for example, I'll give you
Yeah.
one of the things that she said to me that really
Sure.
shocked all of us. There were about 20 things. But one of the things she said that there is a black blue bomber jacket that your son is saying, give it to his sister, give it to Shane. And I said, there's no black blue bomber jacket because I'd moved everything of his from that house into this house. And when Shane woke up in the morning and I said, you know, I spoke to this medium and she was saying, give this black blue, but there's no black blue bomber jacket in his cupboard, in his wardrobe.
Yeah.
So she started crying hysterically. And I'm saying, what's happened, Shane? I'm just telling you. And in between her crying, she said, that black blue bomber jacket is lying in my cupboard, Mama, because the day Chingiz died, I went to his cupboard and I put that on. It was winters. And she wore that black blue bomber jacket all day of his janaza. And so it was in her wardrobe. And that's why I never saw it, because it came to this house in her clothes.
That's something.
So that's when I realized, oh my God.
And was that your first introduction into the world of
The spirit world,
spirits
yes.
and
My
and
son
that-
was my first experience, yes. And so then this friend of mine became my teacher. And she said, you know, Usma, there are so many institutions in the world that help you actually because you are spirit in essence, right? We
Right.
come from the spirit world into a human world and go back into the spirit world. And when she explained all of this, it's kind of made sense to me. You can actually learn expanded consciousness. You can expand yourself beyond your body because essentially that's who you are. So I went to this institute called the Monroe Institute and I did their first level called the Gateway program with her.
Okay.
And she's done
This
20
is a
other.
program this to teach you how to communicate.
So it's meditation and
Okay.
it's expanded consciousness through meditation. And I went to
Interesting.
this institute and I lived over there among 20 people, and they were people,
school.
renowned people. It was like going back to school. I'd left school when I was 18
Yeah.
and I'm a metric pass. So for me, it was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Where am I going? But I crossed the barrier of fear. That's what losing a child did to me. I was not living in fear.
What's the one thing you think has? I mean, everything in this has been life changing for you,
Yes.
and I recognize that. What's the one thing that you you wish you knew without having to have experienced all that you have had to get to that point, but something that really stuck out for you?
Oh, I wish I was a conscious parent. I wish you can't relive. It's
But
like
why do
quote
you
would and
say
should.
that? Why do
Oh,
you say
because we are
that?
not. I wasn't. And I know because we've not been trained. Nobody's taught us how to parent.
Tell us about that. Tell me what conscious parenting looks like. Tell me what you feel like you could have done or you feel
So,
like you should have
oh,
done.
there's so
You
many
have so
woulds
much
and
you
coulds
keep.
and shoulds that I can write a diary after diary after diary on all the things I could have done or should have
Right.
done or would have done. And that's another thing that I've removed from my vocabulary
That's
is the
right.
should, could, and would.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Of
not a part of
course.
my journey now. But because of the regrets that I had, because as a mother, I couldn't fix things with my child. I wanted him to be a certain way. This mold that we fit all our children in. They need to be the best at sports. They need to be in the best school, doing the best things. They need to be well-rounded. They need to have the best profession, the best degree, the best college. It's all
Best
about.
of
And I realized in this journey, I realized that it's not about this child. We are not raising this child because this is the child's need. This is our need that we're projecting on our children. And we do it from the day they're born. Children are pure. They come
This is
from the
true.
spirit world. They're telling you, come into my world of miracles and magic and look into a grain of salt and see the whole world. Look at a flower and see the universe. That's what children are. And we
not
are
what
saying, stop, yes, no, you can, you can't. And then what happens when they become a teenager? The battle starts. And then they're not willing to follow the rules. And the parents are saying, I've done this for you and I've done that for you. And I've dedicated my life for you and I facilitated you and I put you in the best. And it's I, the parent. And the child is saying, I don't give a damn. I don't need it. It was not my need.
I
I
didn't
don't want
ask
to.
you.
And then what's happening? Drugs, alcohol, partying, clothes, unconsciousness, no self-respect. That's rampant. And that's what happens in unconscious living. Because what we are projecting onto this child is that you will be loved when you satisfy
Me and my
and if you
requirement.
want me to love you, then you be a good boy or a good little girl and follow what I believe in. And what I learned was that your children don't even have to actually have the same value system as you.
It's actually do as I say, not as I do kind of
Yes,
thing with our
yes,
children, right? Do
yes.
as I say and not as I do.
Yes.
Because our rules, and when you say that, you kind of reminded me that somewhere I'm also projecting my dreams and my things that I wanted for myself on my kids already, and they're very young. Which brings me to the next question, which is, what should we be doing instead? Because I have just in a minute recognized that there is something that even I can better myself upon with my kids.
We all can.
So what do you think? Instead of this, what should we be doing?
So this is what I learned. I learned on the job. So I have lost this one child and I have all these regrets and I wish I hadn't, done this and that. And then I have this other child who becomes my main focus and my experiment and my project. And now I have to do it all differently, but I've not been trained. So I'm learning and I'm applying. And it's not about me. It's about this gift. She's my Mano Selva. She's been gifted to me. So when she's throwing a tantrum, I have to remind myself, this is my gift. This is my gift. This is my gift.
This is a gift.
Yes.
It's a screaming gift.
Yes. So what happens is you don't go and save the child. You allow them to be. You disconnect from them. You move away. You let them throw their tantrum. It's the natural. We adults throw tantrums. So when a child is throwing a tantrum, we throw a fit.
Yeah.
Right?
This is true.
So you have to let them be. And then when they come into alignment, that's when you go back in and try and resolve the issue and discuss. And your children are your full-time job because they are your special gifts.
They are gifts.
So if you're trying to do 20 other things and you don't need to, but you are, then I don't expect that they are going to, when they're out in the world, they're going to turn back and say, oh, mom, I need to come home and spend time with you. They'll say, I'd rather go to the birthday party or I'd rather go to the party where there's alcohol and music and. So that's what happens. And then we're so unhappy. And they don't give a damn.
They don't.
And so selfishness and the character gets compromised.
Speaking of character, you also do character building classes for young adults and all kinds of, people who are needing help. You meet a lot of kids who tell you a lot of things that they might not be telling their parents. What's the one common thing that you've heard as a problem that these children think that their parents, could do better at? Or, is there a common theme? Do they feel heard? What are they telling you, really?
Kids are distraught today, and the one big thing is that kids don't trust their parents because their parents are constantly judging them. These are the people who've brought them into the world. These are the people who they're supposed to trust 100%.
And they don't trust them?
And yet they've stopped trusting their parents because they're constantly being judged by their parents. Now, if a child comes home and says, I've gone to this friend's house and she smokes, what are you going to do as a parent? You're going to stop her from going, right? So she can't trust you and she can't tell you. The reason why they used to happily come to my character building class is because I never judged them. So if somebody's smoking hash or somebody's smoking a cigarette or somebody's getting drunk or somebody's eaten Xanax, I'm not judging.
I mean, these are part of their lives.
Yes.
These are things.
So what happens is when you are unhappy within and you've not been taught how to find happiness within, you start looking for happiness outside.
And the wrong
And what
places,
happens
perhaps.
is it's drugs and even adults do it. They do it all the time.
It's unfortunate, but that they feel that they're being judged, because I know from a parent's standpoint they come from this place of, well, we just want the best for them, but your child is no longer coming to you and telling
darling,
you.
but the best is the best that we believe is the best for them is not necessarily the best for them. I did that with my son.
So Chenge sounds like he was obviously a real giver, somebody who's very warm and special, and and now you get to meet him and you get to see him or interact with him in ways. I would say, what is your most favorite recent interaction with him?
Amme, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here. Snap out of it. You have the tools. And then I smile and I know that he's around me and I hear him and I see him. And a lot of feathers come my way. Actually, I'll find a feather here and there and sometimes in the bathroom. And that's when I know that he's there.
You are raising a strong female on the side. And Shani, I'm sure, has been a part of this journey and so much more.
Yes.
Tell us about how it's been, for you to have her through this.
Yeah, so this Shani of mine is a free-spirited mind of her own and happy-go-lucky, full of life and fun. And then she breaks and she sees a broken mother and she sees a broken father and she sees a broken home and everything has changed for her. And she was a teenager, which is the worst time in your life because you don't know who you are. You're still discovering, and then this happens. And then here I am working on myself and working on her, and we are working together and sometimes not. And I'm seeing her bloom slowly through summer school and college, and I'm always available and I'm doing things differently and I'm seeing the results. And then we yo-yo back and we yo-yo forth and we yo-yo back, but a little more forth. And then I see her, she goes through college, she graduates, this wonderful young boy comes into her life.
And they got married.
And they got married a week after her graduation. Yes. My daughter has done her bachelor's. She's now doing her master's.
Tell us what she had a very short notice wedding, which you were all for. Yes. Tell us about that, because mothers make it such a big deal when there's a shadi. You need at least 6 months or a year in advance, and you need
so she had a passport issue. Husband has an American passport. She didn't. So she came back to Pakistan with Trump. So many issues.
Yeah.
So we decided, let's go and have a party there and just get you married. So just the family.
Yeah.
And my very close friends. We flew, and then she said, but it's winters in New York and you want me to get married in the rain and in the cold and in boots. So we said, okay, wherever you want. Okay. She said LA. So we all flew to LA, and just my siblings. There were 70 people at the wedding, and just a family, and everything fell into place so beautifully because and we had a wonderful 5 days. It was an open house. All her friends, everybody that mattered was there except my parents. They couldn't make it because it was too long a flight. And she gets married, then they move to Seattle. They are just making magic. She understands what magic is, and she makes miracles with her husband every single day.
We have a little something for you from her, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
So we're going to play a fun game with Uzma now, and it's a rapid fire. I hope you're ready.
Yes.
Okay. I can't start my day without
conscious breathing.
My work wife is.
She's actually my work husband, Saima.
Okay. Something you could tell your younger self right now.
I'm perfect as I am.
Sleep or food?
Sleep.
Beaches or mountains?
Mountains.
Reading or watching?
Reading.
I knew that one.
Mm.
Describe Uzma in one word as she is today.
Maleficent.
Oh. Describe parenting as if you were writing the meaning of it for the dictionary.
Consciousness.
Your pet peeves are what you absolutely hate the most when someone does.
Nothing.
Nothing, no pet peeves.
No.
People being late.
No.
Nothing.
I'm not defined by anybody's issues.
Women should empower each other by
I love.
the one best thing about being a mom.
It's an honor.
Speaking of being honored and having an honor, we have something that we want to show you. It's a little something special from your shining star.
Hi, Mama. Surprise! How are you? I love you. I miss you. And I just want to let you know that I look like this because it's 4 a.m. and I'm making this. But I also want to let you know how important you are to me and how blessed I am to have you as my mother and how grateful I am. All these things that you've taught me, all these key terms and words, they really stick with me now, and I really understand the importance of what they mean. And I hope to keep them with me close to my heart for the rest of my life, and I hope to transfer them to my kids one day. Let's see how that works out. But I just want to let you know that I love you and I can't wait to see you in July. So please get that visa going and catch that next flight. Love you. Bye.
Oh, that's lovely.
How very sweet. It was so nice of Shane to do this. I also wanted to thank you again for having us, for sitting with us, for clearing your schedule to want to talk about this to help other people, which was our main intent. Because, you know, at the club, we have so many women who have lost their, loved ones and even children. And you took out the time to speak to not only me, but all of them through this. So I want to thank you again.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you for having me because, you know, if I can help just one person, it means the world to me.
I think
So thank you so much for having me and coming to my home and being a part of my life journey. And I want to also tell you that I have all these kids coming. Kids come into my life for a very divine reason.
Thank you for being with us. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. There's some real stuff we spoke about. And that is the intent of this show. And the journey is going to be very similar to this. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Uzma does coaching and she does one-on-one sessions. We will leave all her information in our comment section so that you can reach her for her help as and when you need. Goodbye.